Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're very, very welcome. You're always very welcome, but today you're very, very welcome to the Redfellas on a Sunday night where we will be discussing the fallen giants, the end of an era, the end of the Virgil van Dijk record, the end of Mo Salah as an elite striker, and anything else you guys want to speak about and speak upon. You're all very, very welcome to Redfellas Sunday night, sponsored by yourfutcard.com. Guys, if you haven't already checked them out, what are you waiting for? Let's get into FUT card first, people. These are your FUT card go-to people. Get any design you want. Wow, you can get that Mo Salah goal recreated on a print. Fantastic. Who wouldn't want that? These are your go-to people. Any design, any color, so many different versions. Not only custom-made cards, but you can get flags, banners, and prints. Listen to some of the customers, what they already speak about in terms of how highly they speak of these guys. These guys are the dog's bollocks. If you don't believe me, go and check them out. Chat with them. Anything you want, any size, any print, any memory you have of a goal, you want that on a banner. Any famous saying, the end of an era, Virgil van Dijk is on his ass. You want that on a banner? Put it up. Get it up. Go into the chat, ask them you want this. And then once you've done that, you type in Redfellas and you get a 15% discount on top. What more do you guys want? Go check out yourfutcard.com. People, welcome to the Redfellas. We've got a bit of a variety, as you can see, but I thought life, what's the saying? Variety is the life.
Variety is the spice of life, is it?
That's it. Variety is the spice of life. So I've got some regulars on the Redfellas, and I've got a young debutant. We'll get to him. Conroy, hope you're doing well, my friend.
Yeah, no, buzzing, Grizz.
And I'm gonna grass you up. Conroy actually came on screen with a blue top on, guys. Absolutely brain dead. Like,
dude, it was.
I told him off.
Well, all it needed was Etihad on the front of it, and it was
sponsored by Etihad on the front.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I wasn't thinking. I was saying to Grizz, I just came in and we changed my top, just try to get the setup ready for tonight, and I was just like, oh, I didn't even realise. So a quick change. So thanks for that, Grizz. I wish I'd just wore it now because it probably would have been less embarrassing, you know. But it is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm doing good, mate. Easily the best performance of the season today. One of the most tense matches, as it always is against City, to be honest. It was a great experience getting that win. It felt like the longest game in a long time I've watched, to be honest. But yeah, absolutely over the moon. I know we're going to get into it, but yeah, just on top of the world right now. What a result.
We absolutely are going to get into it. I'm still actually waiting for people to notice that I've got the war hat on today. It's been a while since I wore the war hat, but today I actually felt like we needed to go to war, and we absolutely did go to war. It was magnificent. A couple of super chats before we get on with the show. He says, Pixelated Pigeon, shout out to Pixelated Pigeon every time. One of my favorite mods as well. Oh my days, that Salah goal was mental. The Alisson pass, the way he turns Cancelo, the composure with the early chance on his mind. Top class stuff. Danny VR says, our player stepped up today. Brilliant. Ole Reds. We were magnificent today. We will get into that. But making his debut on the Redfellas, I've told him to behave himself and act like a red fella now. He's no more a red kid anymore. He is now officially a red fella. Omar, we welcome you to the Redfellas. What a night to make your debut, son.
No, I feel like I've deserved this one because I feel like I was the most positive fan building up to this. So yeah, I told you guys.
I got to shout out. I got to shout out Omar. This morning he woke up. I don't think he went to sleep, to be honest with you. The way he was tweeting, it was a long Friday, Saturday, right? And he didn't go to sleep because the way he was tweeting was wild. But I tell you what, sometimes when you're intoxicated to the levels Omar was this morning, the truth comes out. And his truth was Liverpool are going to turn up today. Virgil is going to turn up today. Mohamed Salah is going to turn up today. So you preach, brother. You're allowed. This is why I let you on today, because you was the best man today, the best man.
Thank you. Yeah, I was one goal away from my prediction. I said it on Thursday. I said 2-0 Liverpool, Salah and Nunes. But hey, Nunes, we'll get onto him. Get your shooting boots on, mate. But yeah, pleasure, man.
Excellent. Milo 90 says, please remind Said about that awful Anfield chat tomorrow. I'm going to be shameless, people. I'm going to be shameless. The week hasn't even started yet. Let the night end. And this week will be shameless, Grizz Khan. You guys don't need to worry about that. Cav, you're very welcome back. Hope you're feeling well. I know you haven't been feeling too good, but what medicine? If you wasn't feeling well, I'm pretty certain you're flying now.
I'm certainly alive. Yeah, I was a little bit ill the past week, and hadn't been appearing on podcasts and what have you. But I tell you what, I'm feeling better, and Liverpool gave me life today for sure. You know, they gave us that high, which we know they can do, and yeah, I'm over the moon. I'm got a smile from one side of my face to the other, and I'm so happy. So yeah, really excited to chop it up. And thank you again for inviting me on the show.
It's not a problem, bro. We all got a smile. Jamie, yeah, man. Welcome again. Had to get you on. How you feeling, my bro? How was you feeling before? How you feeling now?
Yeah, you know, it's always amazing to cap off the weekend with a Liverpool win versus Manchester City. Makes it that much sweeter. Before the game, I can't lie, fellas. I was scared. This is a big boy team, a machine, one of the best center forwards in the world. I believe he'd scored in his last 10 games, you know, just something ridiculous. Video game statistics Erling Haaland was putting up. And, you know, there's injuries that have happened in the last week or so. What team are we going to throw out? But as soon as the ball got rolling, it felt like Anfield was up for it. I was up for it. And, you know, I'm very, very grateful that my wife was out of the house because she hates when I start screaming at the television. But there was some screaming at the television and a lot of raucous in my house. So amazing into the weekend with a Liverpool win over Manchester City for sure.
It's my mate Ibra, shout Ibra from Luton, big up every time. He says, where do you start with today's performance? And I guess that's the best question. Where do you start, Conroy? I guess you start right at the beginning. The lineups, always the lineups. It's all about lineups and formations and dilemmas and who's injured and who's not. We need to get it right. We need to get the midfield right. Is he going to play? All these questions and permutations that we've been building up all week, and even last night's call-in show. If you haven't checked it out, it was fantastic. We actually built ourselves a bit of optimism by the end of the call-in show and thought we can do this. You know, like the Nutty Professor, the family, when they say, we can do this. We actually convinced ourselves, and it manifested onto the pitch. Conroy selection comes out. James Milner is your right back. Harvey Elliott is in front of him, and Joe, the much maligned recently, Joe Gomez, is your right-sided centre-back. A recipe for a mauling, everyone thought. Or was you any different?
No, I think I've got to be honest. Gomez, I'm okay with Gomez. I think the Napoli performance, it was a one-off. I actually think out with those games, he was being reasonably okay, and I feel like his athletic ability, he showed today, his speed would be fine. Elliott, he's obviously doing a lot in training right now and in performances in match, played well against Rangers. So you can tell Klopp absolutely rates him so highly to throw him in this match. I've got to be honest, though, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm sure there'll be.
That's what I love about you. That's what I love about you.
Yeah. Well, Milner, the thing is, as soon as I saw the lineup, I was sitting there thinking, how is it 2022 and we're starting James Milner at right back against, in my opinion, the best team in the world? And against probably the best young player in the world, or right up there with Foden. And it's like, you're just worried, to be honest. And I will talk about the game, but that was my worry. And do you know what? I was actually thinking, I actually feel sorry for Milner. I definitely do, because it's like, he signed that contract to play less, and he's played more, if anything. And I was worrying, I'm not going to lie. I felt like you saw what Foden and City done to him last year, specifically the first goal at Anfield last year is because of the spacing behind. So I was worried, but you know what? He proved a lot of people wrong today. He showed with all that experience he's had for his career and his ability. People knock Milner a lot on his ability. Milner has played several positions and performed very highly at them as well. So fair play. He shut a lot of people up today. And do you know what? I was really, really happy for him. But that was my worry going into the game. I thought, do you know what? Fabinho, Thiago, I feel like Fab, not had a great season, but I felt like he still got a performance. Obviously, a year ago, 6 months ago, he's one of the best DMs in the world. So I felt like they could get through it. I was quite happy with the rest of the team. But that was the one area I was worried about. But you know what? Proved me wrong. So it's great.
Holmes, I'm not going to be a hypocrite as well, like Conroy. In the WhatsApp group this morning, but hopefully Conroy will back me up on this. I did say I'm worried if we play 4-3-3 because we won't have enough firepower and creativity, or penetration, I should say. But Jurgen Klopp, even though there was more than a few moans and groans about the Milner and, on the right back situation.
Definitely.
Yeah, the Mo Salah through the middle kind of had a few people thinking, we can definitely cause them issues, right?
Yeah. For me, straight away, when I saw that, I was like, okay, fair enough. You've just got to take it on the chin, right? We knew Trent wasn't going to start. It was a shock to see him on the bench. We knew Khanage was likely out. So it's one of those where you sort of just got to take it on the chin, which is what my sort of mindset was to it. Just on James Milner, man. He took young Phil Foden out of school and brought him to the school of life today. I call it the school of life because that was the most experienced performance you could possibly imagine from James Milner. But on the starting lineup and just within the first minute of the game, I was happy to see that we'd actually been a bit flexible and that we'd started in a 4-4-2 defensive shape and said, all right, we almost conceded. We went half court against Man City, conceded the ball to their centre backs. And we were just like, all right, you can see the game plan straight away. We're going to try and hit them on the counter. And it took a few minutes to get, like the commentators said, we didn't, Gary Neville was like, we didn't quite know our trigger points, when to press. But once we did, it was so hard for them to sort of break us down. We looked threatening. I think, I don't want to go into it too much, but I was just so happy to see that Klopp had actually adapted and had changed the game plan instead of sticking to his stubbornness, which sometimes, as we know, can be a sort of criticism of him. So for me, it's it was just I was just happy to see us do something different and adapt to the game we're playing instead of trying to force and push a specific game plan, which clearly hasn't been working all season.
Guys, there's close to 430 of you in here. 130 likes. Not on a night like this anyway. Get smashing, get liking, so we can spread this to as many people as we can and rejoice and celebrate. Because these days, these kind of games and performances, Cav, from the crowd, from the fans, from the players, from the coaches, has been very far few between. We've been asking, like On said, a variety of ways of playing. Klopp, open up your mind, let go of certain loyalties. He dropped the skipper, Cav. I don't think it's going to be unnoticed in a massive, huge game like this. I was convinced that Henderson would start in some capacity. That was a huge call. We're going to go on to individual performances, but young Harvey Elliott, my word. And then obviously the other young man, James Milner. Keith often says we have to mention his age at least 15 times a show to get through. 30, how old?
36.
36-year-old James Milner. Just a few of the individuals. We needed something different. The crowd was up for it. The fans were up for it. The players were up for it. And it looks like Jurgen Klopp, obviously we'll get onto it, was up for it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've been labelled as predictable. People have criticised Klopp with being loyal, a bit stagnated in our approaches, in our attacks and stuff. But that all changed today with everybody's, Klopp and his coaching team set up. I mean, I must admit, I was looking at that lineup when it come out and I didn't know if it was a 4-3-3 with Elliott, Fabinho and Thiago as the midfield and having Firmino up top, Jota on the left, Salah on the right, or whether it was still the 4-4-2 and having Salah up top. Now, as it turns out, it was the 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, call it what you will, with Salah playing up top. But the inclusion of Elliott over Henderson was a surprise for me because although he's played well and he deserves to be in there on merit, it's a big occasion. And, you know, I thought that maybe this kid, for as good as he is, might have been a bit overawed by it. Obviously, it plans out that wasn't the case, and he handled the game exceptionally well. But it was nice seeing the lineup and not knowing which way we were going, because of course that means that Man City and whoever the opposition is are doing exactly the same, you know. And if they don't know what the formation is, what the tactics are, then that puts us in even better stead that we can catch them out. And we'll go on to the first half. I think we did exactly that, you know, and now we've got another way of playing, another setup that looks to be really positive for us moving forward. So I was really pleased with Klopp today. I think he sort of got out his own headspace, dropped his kind of stubbornness, and really focused on this game and how he could attack it. And I think he almost got it done to perfection.
Jamie, we know that you're a coach of young lads team as well. What would you have said to Harvey Elliott today, you know, stepping on that pitch? Because he's played big games. He has played big games before. But I think in terms of the team's confidence, like low, going into this game, probably one of the best teams in Europe, the best team in Europe, probably one of the best left sides in Foden and Silva on that side, and then Haaland drifting out there as well from time to time. And then he's replacing the skipper. That is some pressure, like Cav says, to give a young lad. What would you have said to him? Or would you have, someone like him, do you think you need to say much to him? Because to me, the guy, or the kid still, I'm not going to call him a man yet. I'm still going to call him a boy. The boy, he's just so confident. I love him.
Yeah, I think a lot of the design of this lineup was tactically trying to focus on Harvey Elliott's strengths and then subside and take away from the aspects of his game that haven't fully developed yet, right? Where, you know, for the first time, it feels like this season, we have a pretty strong midfield rotation. We have two senior players in there, Thiago and Fabinho. And so both of those lads can handle a lot of the dirty, gritty work, which obviously at Harvey's frame and his age, he's not necessarily the most astute in that aspect yet. And so he's coming into these little pockets with which Fabinho and Thiago are occupying the space in the middle of the park where he could really operate. And I saw several times where there would be a melee of confusion, and he was so precise in coming in just at the right time to make a tackle, an interception, an interference. And, you know, dare I say it, he had aspects of Bernardo Silva's game in his game where he was so
absolutely
to the point where he was an ultimate pest. And that's the thing that I think Harvey Elliott will have to develop and cultivate, because with his frame and his characteristics, he's never going to be a domineering 6 foot tall center midfielder who's going to go into these aerial battles, these duels, but pick and choose the moments to pick and pop and to get into those spaces, cause havoc, use your touches, and then recycle the ball, which I thought several times the change of maybe several weeks prior of slowly building up and trying to rotate out to one of the outside left backs was catalyzed by Harvey Elliott coming into these spaces and getting it straight up the field into these lanes and channels for Bobby or for Mo, depending on where Jota was in the field. So it was an immense performance from Harvey. But let's also not forget the credit to Klopp to make these tactical adjustments, because I think it was night and day seeing him playing this formation versus in the 3 in midfield with the 3 up front like we had previously seen. So kudos to Klopp, immense performance for Harvey Elliott.
Just a couple of super chats that I need to get through before we come to Conroy. Of course, my partner in crime. When I say crime, I don't mean proverbial crime. I don't actually mean crime before
hopefully.
People look for us. Yeah, just my brother Sass. He goes, I'm so buzzing. We got a Liverpool back on and off the pitch today. Now let's kick on and start our season. You'll never walk alone. Big up Sass every time. AJ says, big up Grizz. I hope you messaged Fuad from the call-in show. The Arsenal fan. His positivity rubbed off on us watching, and the prediction was spot on. I will give him a shout. An Arsenal fan shamed us up last night. He came on the call-in show. I said, he goes, I'm telling you now, I've been watching Liverpool, even an Arsenal fan, over these years, and Anfield, and you guys raise it when it counts. Big up him every time. Amir Sahib says, massive game, big 3 points. Fight for the top 4 continues. Darwin had Salah wide open. Wish he passed. We all wish he passed, but we'll get to that. Conroy, the game starts off. Sorry, just one last super chat before we move on. Lads, I reckon we should stick. Of course, now we're going to get these shouts. Lads, I think we should stick with the 4-4-2 or the 4-2-3-1 from now on. It suits all of our attackers and Kall, Elliott, and Jones. All we need now is 3-4 animals for the double pivot, and we've got our Liverpool 2.0. I couldn't agree with that more, but we'll get everyone's opinion on that, not just mine and yours, LFCL. Yo, what's good? Finally, we can say Liverpool. This brother has been sending super chats, and I always have to say to him, not Liverpool, bro. But now we can say
it's only taken
Liverpool.
2 months. It's only taken 2 months.
It's only taken 2 months from now. Nunes' decision-making was horrendous for both Salah and Carvalho. We will get onto that. I appreciate the love and support. Conroy, by the time the game starts, I'm nervous because as much as we think, it's not a free hit, but you know what it's like, right? It's City. We're not playing well. Let's just put on a show. Let's not get embarrassed. Let's not give fuel to the fire and the accusations of dead. This team's dead. X is dead. Player Y is dead, right? I thought both teams started off fantastically. There was a bit of working out what's what and what's not, but I thought both teams were playing on the front foot. It was a proper Barclays game of football, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think at the start, Grizz, first 10-15 minutes, as Cav said about the formation and shape, it's quite funny because I think the commentators were saying that as well. It took them about 5-10 minutes to work out how Liverpool were adapting, as you said, when attacking and defending. And I feel like we started, very, very well, trying to press them and kind of into certain areas to win the ball and get a great start. That kind of ebbed off a little bit, and then I think both of us showed our class. I feel like off the top of my head, I've actually forgot the first chance we had, probably the Jota chance, the header that straight at Ederson. That's a big chance. But you felt like the cohesion between the team was good. Obviously, I'm going to say this, but it's just a quick one. I think Robertson coming back helped with that as well down that flank.
No, you need to speak on him today. I thought Robertson was magnificent.
That definitely added to it. But I wouldn't say we're cutting edge in the first half, Grizz. I feel like we're getting to the right area. Is everyone all right with my Wi-Fi, guys? Yeah, all good.
Is it just me or is Conroy's Wi-Fi in and out, guys?
It's a little bit glitchy. Conroy,
maybe come in and out, Conroy. Just try popping in and out, maybe.
Yeah, I'll come in and out. Well, yes, that's fine. I'll come in and out and then just
go on, let's carry on. It's okay now. It seems okay now. It seems okay now.
Okay.
Go on.
You hear me now? All right, okay.
Yep.
So, I think we started well, but then obviously I think City, when you've got the players like De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva and Foden, Gundogan, quite an underrated player for me as well. You could just tell when they got an opportunity, I think it's KDB's cross and Haaland gets the header, they just reminded us how dangerous they could be. So I agree, guys. It was like basketball. No, I wouldn't say basketball at times because there were spells where it was a bit more patience build up, but it was like two teams showing their class in the first half for me. Thought it was intense, not pardon the pun of a Pep Linders book, but I thought the first half was very intense to watch and from the players as well. Thought the intensity and the overall importance of the game. It felt like a title decider. I know that sounds a bit mad, guys, because I think we'll all admit we're not in a title race. That's what it felt like, the importance of the game. So, the first half, as you would say, as Conte would say, I just want one weekend of normal Barclays, but it wasn't. It was a superb game. I'll go and sign out and come back, Grizz, okay?
Yeah, you're coming in, and hopefully that will clear it up. Ohms,
Yep.
I wanted to talk about sort of the start and the tactical setup. I think Jamie was saying, or one of you guys was saying, or I think it was Cav, we didn't know how we were going to actually set up. We saw the personnel, but in terms of until they actually start playing, we then realized Mohamed Salah is the central striker and Bobby Firmino is an absolute pest when it comes to disrupting the passing lanes into Gundogan and Rodri. That was key, wasn't it? Because I was worried we're going to just use Bobby as the central pest, but not have enough threat in behind to make them think. But we did. But saying that, they were picking off holes and spaces in our midfield as well. It was a proper top level football, wasn't it? Even from a coach's aspect. tactically.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the first thing that stood out to me was that we knew we were the underdogs, and for the last few years, we have been going toe to toe with Man City, and fair play because we have had the team to do that. I reckon it was so much wiser to do what we did today. It reminded me of a very early Jurgen Klopp team, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, when we used to play Man City and we used to concede the ball to them. But Firmino, he was always the guy that sort of bounced back on their Rodri, their Fernandinho, their sort of defensive midfielder. And he was an absolute pest. Like, him and Jota were absolutely everywhere. Elliot as well. Thiago. All our players had that bite about them that was needed. Like, in games like this, you have to be ultra aggressive and ultra, like, in there. You cannot give City time and space to turn because they will punish you. And we did not allow that to happen. We were there. As soon as they got the ball, we were bang there in their face. And yeah, for me, every time that ball did go behind Salah and Firmino, like, we were straight coming in from all angles. You had Thiago from one side, Jota from the other, Firmino from another. So I really love that sort of aggressive aspect. And we won the ball a lot. And for me, just the first half, the only thing that was missing was that final ball where sometimes... And it worked once to Harvey Elliott, where we got it out wide and he sort of fumbled it. But what was missing was that sort of, when we won it, the composure to then say, all right, we have the ball now. We have to go quickly. We have to pick out and execute the right pass, which, hey, in the second half we did. But that was the only thing that was sort of missing from our performance, I think, in the first half. And yeah, man, like City, from their perspective, they played with Cancelo and Foden as sort of their wing backs and had Gundogan, De Bruyne either side of Haaland.
Well,
And then
I wanted to come on to that, and I want to get Cav's opinion on that aspect. Sorry, from the City tactical point of view, but it affected us as well, and of course it affected us because we had to counter it. What I noticed was initially Silva started off on the right, and Foden started on the left. Gundogan and Rodri, and then it was KDB behind Haaland, which is how they've been setting up. But I think very quickly when they realized it's Elliott and Milner, instantly what I saw was not only Cancelo and Foden, but I noticed Silva just stayed on that side and tried to create overload after overload. How did you think we managed that situation?
Well, sorry. Yeah, I just think what really surprised me about the start to the game was that I felt that Liverpool defensively have been quite weak this season, and for us to get something out of the game, we would have to throw the kitchen sink at it, go all out attack, create chaos. But actually, what really surprised me was that when Man City, the first 5 minutes was a bit end to end and it was brilliant. But after the 5 minutes had passed, Man City kind of got hold of the ball and started passing it around their defense as they do. And they tried to quieten the crowd. But when Liverpool were winning the ball back, they didn't necessarily jump on the opportunity to counter-attack. They were a lot more measured and a lot more controlled. I think back to an occasion where Firmino was winning the ball back off of Rodri. And it was like Salah was so open and I was screaming at the telly to switch it over to him. But actually, he just played it back and we just recycled the possession through the defense. And then we just picked our moments to go forward, which really surprised me because I thought we would be going gung-ho. But they wasn't. There was controlled. There was measures. And I think that Pep, going into this game, thought that they would get at us. When we create chaos and we're all out attack and the fullbacks up the pitch, what can tend to happen is in the counter press, players start losing their position. They start going roaming a little bit. They get caught out. People start filling in for each other. And there's spaces that open up in the pitch. And I think Pep was looking to exploit them spaces, but they never really happened because Liverpool were controlled when they got the ball back. And I think that's where Pep then began to mix it around with moving Bernardo over. I think for a large portion of the first half, you're actually seeing De Bruyne kind of really high and wide, which is not where he wants to be. We think of De Bruyne, and the first thing that I think springs to a lot of people's minds is that real deep cross, from the right-hand side into Haaland and stuff. He only managed to do that, I think, once in that first half. So Pep looking at the lineup and then seeing as to how we reacted when in our press and when we got the ball, he suddenly started to change people's positions around, thinking, actually, this isn't quite what I expected from Liverpool. And it was great to see, because that for me was the first win for Klopp over Pep, tactically.
You're spot on, Jamie. I think Cav's made a very good point there in terms of we weren't hectic in terms of our counter-attacking. There was a couple of long balls, but that's expected because Man City are equally as good as us. Obviously, this season, much better than us in the press. Like, Man City are an elite pressing team. People forget that aspect of Man City. Everyone talks about the pretty triangles they create and the technical ability. But when you add the fucking intense pressing, especially the likes of KDB, Foden and Silva, especially, like Rodri must have won. I read a stat. He won 7 tackles in that first half himself, like 7 tackles. And apparently that's one of the highest ones in the first half. But I loved, like Cav said, I loved the way we didn't blindly just go for them. We were very calculated in our possession when we received the ball. And I think that surprised Pep. And he continuously tried to do different things. But apart from that, I still call him Alfinger Haaland. Apart from that Haaland header where Kevin De Bruyne picks him up wonderfully, I thought from a defensive structure point of view, we laid the foundation to go and attack them as we would later on in the game.
Yeah, no, I think going from City's back to front to talk about our counterattacks, one of the most important things to remember in this game for context is Stones isn't playing, Laporte isn't playing, Kyle Walker isn't playing. And so with that being said, City's ability to pass the ball into the pockets of space, starting from the center back position, is highly altered. And so now their line has to push up closer to the midfield where they're looking to find Bernardo, Rodri, or Kevin De Bruyne, where in previous games, when all of these world-class passing defensive players are there, they can start their attack from goal kicks. Literally, it's unbelievable. And so with them being much closer, the space in behind was absolutely there for the taking. And I mean, we saw it several times in the game where Salah was lining up with the last man getting ready to go. Jota the same, and it came off a few times. And I think the ability to recognize, look, we obviously have had to make changes based on injuries to our squad. But let's analyze and look at the game from a vantage point of we also have to recognize their injuries and how we can get at that. And I think Harvey was so paramount in his ability to connect play when picking up the ball, if it was Thiago or Fabinho getting stuck in, and then finding one of the players and stretching the pitch and then coming back in. The other thing I want to mention that I saw today for the first time in a long time, which seemed very, very effective, was an outside midfield, a midfield player coming along with either a fullback or one of the forwards who had overlapped to get crosses in through us making triangles and giving give and goes. And I think that this was all in part to the fact that the game for us played to our strengths in terms of when we have space to attack, but not only space to attack, but space to attack going forward, we're an incredibly fast, quick, vicious team. And I have to admit, I have to stop myself and pause for a second when I'm watching these games, because I just have to say it. This is some of the highest level football in the world, maybe ever played. And so it's absolutely amazing to see it on display, especially when Liverpool can win. But an extremely tight tactical battle today that I think Liverpool got the better of. If we're talking about chances, I think we honestly had the better chances.
I absolutely agree. Conroy, we go into halftime 0-0. Would you say even? Very even. Both teams having a few half chances, but as Jamie said and Cav said as well, the tactical setups on both teams was intriguing, forever changing, trying to wait for the opportunities, weaknesses, lapses of concentration. Both teams were exceptional in that first half in not letting too many chances or too many lapses of concentration happen. But the start of the second half, we have the first gilt-edged chance, don't we? Mohamed Salah gets put through by Bobby Firmino, because that's where Bobby Firmino, I thought Bobby Firmino was brilliant off the ball, but I thought he could have done better on the ball in the first half. But in that second half, he puts him through. Surely your mortgage, your house, your car, anything you own, you put on Mo scoring, and it didn't. It was a magnificent save, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put my mortgage on Mo Salah scoring. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
I would never do that. No,
you said that
because
before.
he's missed a lot of chances, scores a lot of goals, misses a lot of chances as well. So he's very clutch, not disputing that, but he does miss. I'd never put my mortgage. For me, you can show me all the stats you want. I'm still always 99% sure when he's through on goal. For me, in hindsight though, it's a top save. At the time, I was fuming. A bit like Cav was with Firmino not playing the ball through when he had the chances. I was a bit annoyed with that. But then when you rewatch it, do you know what? It's a great save. Sometimes I think Ederson's ability, shot stopping, gets downplayed because he's not as good as Alisson at that. He isn't, but he is still a very good goalkeeper, exceptional with his feet. And today proved, I mean, that's a phenomenal save. That might be one of the best saves of the season, unless Alisson might top it later on in the year. But it's a brilliant save. And I've got to be honest, Grizz, I was worried we would rue that, because as much as you want to speak about we've created lots of chances this season, that's not been a prominent feature. And I was worried against a team like City, who can hurt you in second, just like can be ruthless. I was a bit worried we may rue that. Thankfully, that never occurred. But yeah, it's an exceptional save. And we've got 2 1-on-1s, thankfully. Just to add as well on the point, Grizz, because I know you want to move on now. I also think Klopp playing Salah higher up, it was really, for the first half and second half, you could see that we did mix it up. We tried to play short, but we played the long passes as well. And I think with Salah being there, he knew he could get at Ake, mainly Ake's side, but you knew we were trying that ball a lot, and you knew we would have more success against them if it was maybe, Laporte or Diaz was on the park. Not Diaz, sorry, Stones. So I felt like again, that goes back to Klopp's original plan for that game. I thought that worked so well at causing the City's defence to be disrupted by, sometimes it wasn't even a great long pass. It could have been just, a straightforward long ball over the top, and it was causing a lot of problems. So I just wanted to add that point as well, Grizz.
Holmes, we must discuss, I think, straight after that chance, they go up the other end and they score what is actually a given by the referee on the pitch, I believe, right, guys? It was not so it's given. Obviously, the players surround the referee and are incensed because they feel A, there could be a foul on Fabinho, or B, there could be a foul on Alisson. What did you think at the time it went in? Did you think just our luck? We've gone up the other end, Mo Salah, what's the chances of him missing that? And then they go up the other end and score.
For me, because it felt really chaotic in the build-up, which it turned out to be, which was the Fabinho foul and then the sort of Alisson getting the ball, not getting the ball. My thought went straight to, all right, what's VAR going to have to say about this? I don't know if that's just a consequence of the footballing world we live in now.
Yeah,
but,
it is. Yeah,
your mind, even like Salah's goal, like as much as I was celebrating, I was like, okay, just please be onside, whatever.
No foul on.
Hope you didn't hit your hand.
Is that a handball? Is that?
Yeah. So, but yeah, for me it was a foul. Like, and I've seen a few arguments say, oh, he wasn't like the goal was so much further on. Like Haaland's next action after that was him in on goal. So I think the correlation between that and his sort of foul is a foul. I know there was a whole argument about it looks so much worse when it's slowed down, but I still think it was a foul when it was played in full in like a live replay essentially. So yeah, for me that was a foul. The Alisson one, like the kick on Alisson, no, Alisson didn't have control, but the foul on Fabinho is a clear foul. Like you can see the shirt being pulled, and I know we were having this discussion just backstage, but I know like we have varying opinions on whether we thought the referee had a good game. I was with what Conroy was saying, which is I actually really enjoyed the way he refereed that and sort of let things go. And even what Bernardo Silva was saying after the game, I know he got a lot of like sort of slander, but
what was Bernardo Silva saying after the game?
He.
Oh wait, hold on.
How do players feel about the goal that was taken off of
what we expect from the referees is consistency in the decision.
Oh my god!
And when you go through a path of not whistling little contacts throughout the whole game, you need to keep those decisions and to keep going that way.
Exactly.
If you want to whistle all of them, whistle all of them. But if you, from the beginning of the game, you're not whistling little faults, and we saw in this game that he was letting us play, which is good, which is fine. Then, if there's a goal, you cannot whistle that soft one. So, yeah, if you want consistency from the referee, you cannot change just because there's a goal, and just because it's a tough decision, you have to make the tough decision and keep the goal.
Fair play, the rat. But yeah, so you're saying that you was okay with the referee's performance because he let it go and everything.
Yeah, I mean that's how you want it. That's how the Premier League is. That's the big appeal of the Premier League, right? It is the most sort of competitive, physical league in the world. I agree with his point that you want a level of consistency throughout a game. Ideally, you want a level of consistency throughout a whole season, but that's never going to happen. But yeah, I think when it came to a goal and just the fact that I think it was just a clear and obvious objective foul, like I don't understand where he's asking for that consistency. Like, yes, you can't let the game flow, but sometimes a foul is a foul. And Fabinho, if that shirt, well, only Fabinho knows if he went down easy or not, right? But from what it looked like to me, if that shirt is being pulled, Fabinho secures that ball and City don't get that chance. So, yeah, I get the sort of consistency point, and I absolutely hate Bernardo Silva. Wonderful footballer, but I absolutely despise the guy. It absolutely pisses me off. But yeah, yeah, for me, objectively, it was a foul, and I think you're clutching at straws by saying, "Oh, was it clear and obvious?" Like for me, it was just a legit foul.
So I'm in disagreement. We're going to get Cavs and Jamie's opinion on it. So you and Conroy are saying that it was fine, and the referee, you like the consistency that he let it play. I think he got decisions on both sides wrong. There were so many fouls on their side and so many fouls on their side. And if it wasn't VAR, we would have been absolutely effing and blinding that foul was given. I thought he lost control in the end. When we get on to at the end, I get the idea of letting games go, but when there's a foul, there's foul. I mean, if you don't think Mohamed Salah was being fouled today, I don't know what game you're watching it. Rodri was allowed 5-6 clean yellow card tackles, yellow card fouls, and wasn't given a yellow card.
I think that's exaggerating, Grizz. Come on. I think one or two decisions go away, but how many players don't make a mistake when they go in the park? So you're expecting, if you let it go, there's going to be decisions like that. But you have to have one or the other. You can't say we don't want stop and start football. Then when a ref lets it go, you complain because it's your team. Like, there's got to be. And by the way, it's not Anthony Taylor's fault. The Salah foul, Bernardo Silva. The linesman's got to. That's how's Anthony Taylor's is about 20 yards away. The linesman, that's the linesman's mistake. Hence why Klopp is shouting at the linesman. But like, I just think the thing I don't get is if you have to let it go, there is going to be decisions that are fouls that you're not going to get. Hence why when we got the ball on questionable challenges, sometimes we enjoyed being able to counter City because he let it go. So what I'm saying is, I understand it's annoying, and listen, I am not Anthony Taylor's biggest fan by all means, but it's like there's this mythical balance that people have been talking about for 30 years with referees. It's never going to happen. You either stop and start. And we don't want that, as we've been saying for years. So then the PGMOL want it to be let go. But when that happens, it's like we say it needs to be more that way. I just don't think you're ever going to get that balance. I think you either have to have one way or the other. And that's why I agree with Omar. I can live with us not getting some free kicks. And ultimately, we complain when referees don't get the big decisions. But today, he did get a big decision right with VAR. Last week, we said Michael Oliver got it wrong. But we're still complaining either way. So it's like, a referee's never going to have a perfect performance. So I just feel like sometimes we're so focusing on that, and for me, I'd rather football was like that and live with not getting a few fouls now and again. But
we're not going to dwell on it too long. Cav and Jamie, I did promise you guys say I thought he was awful. I think he's an awful referee. I get letting it flow, but a foul is a foul, and cynical foul is definitely a cynical foul. There were cynical fouls on both sides. Even our guys were doing it to them. I just thought it was a horrible refereeing performance. But that's just my opinion. And Conroy and Omar allowed this. Very quickly, we're not going to dwell too much. But Cav and Jamie, anything to add or subtract?
I would just say that there was only one real big decision in the game that, other than the scuffle later on, which we'll come on to, it was the disallowed goal, which was only really the big call they had to make. And I thought they got it right. You know, they did what they needed to. The on-field decision was the goal. That's how he's seen it. He got advised to take a look at it because there was a foul in the build-up. He went over and looked at it and he made the right call. So they did their job on that occasion. In terms of the overall game, I was quite happy with letting the fouls go. I get scared as a Liverpool fan because I don't want to see our players get injured. That's my biggest fear. But I also want to see these guys play. And what I really hate is when the game start and there's no flow and momentum. So I'm a bit more on the side of leniency than perhaps a lot of fans would be.
Jamie, anything to add on the referee debate, or shall we keep it moving? Up to you.
I'll just go real quick. I just find it super ironic because Bernardo Silva's dead on in saying, look, if you're going to let these scuffles between Mo Salah, Khanage, Ake, Rodri go on, where it looks like they're both yanking at each other's shoulders in several of these occasions, and then you're going to blow then for the goal situation, the consistency argument would be that if you called it one way, you wouldn't call it back again later in the game. But the most ironic thing, and this is the quickest thing that I'll say on it, is normally City's tactics are to preserve themselves very well and go down quite easily. And then how quick the narrative for them shifts when they're able to put out a more juiced, stronger side where the tactics then slide into being a little bit more rough and being a little bit more aggressive. But for them, it just didn't work today. Thank goodness. And obviously we'll keep this referee debate pushing because they're just not very good and it's not going to change.
Yeah, look, and Conroy, to be fair to him, has always said that it's not going to change. You know, that's the way it is. You know, we just have to kind of accept it. But, you know, it's always good to go on if you must, because really referees are boring. If you must,
they are. But like, I don't think a footballer ever has had the complete perfect game. Right? Remember, there's 23 people in that field. So like, look,
I'm going to stop you because we know that. But then referees, we're not expecting a perfect referee performance. If someone has a bad referee performance, just like we call out bad player performances, we're allowed to call out bad referees. I just think they're way too protected. Not Conroy, but generally, they're way too protected. And he's a horrible referee. And that was awful decision-making, in my opinion. But the chat's 50-50. Some are thinking, no, it was fine. Some are saying it was horrible. And that's what the point of debate is. We move on. Yeah. But what happened was, as a result of that, got the crowd going. And Pep must have thought, what the fuck have I done here? Why did I go mad here? I mean, because this was reminiscent of the Arsenal and Arteta. Do you remember Liverpool when a decision went and you could sense Anfield lift off? I mean, the next few minutes was the crowd was lit. And guys... Guys, you can't beat Peter Drury on commentary, can you? I mean, when he said this is Anfield, did any of you not have goosebumps?
Gets you, doesn't it?
No, because if you didn't, because I reckon only a robot like Haaland wouldn't have felt any emotions there. Like any normal human being would have felt emotions there. Even a non-Liverpool fan, I'm not joking. I mean, Cav, I'll go to you for that. I mean, how did you feel? Because I thought this is what we needed. Everything and every media pundit, commentator, opposition fan, right? Anything. Everyone was talking about what Haaland is going to do, what Haaland has done, what Haaland potentially could do to Liverpool and end everything about this Liverpool team. And yet they had forgotten our very own king of the Premier League for the last 5 seasons, Mohamed Salah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That epitomized what we are. You know, when you think of Liverpool, you think of emotion, a raucous crowd, good goals, you know, the connection between players, fans and the crowd. And it just banged. It just absolutely banged. You know, it was just like we'd had such a good performance and I was so proud of our team performance up until that point. But then we scored that goal and I was like, yeah, here's the heat now. you know.
Indian Scout says my goosebumps has goosebumps.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Great way.
Yeah, but that's exactly what he did. That was the moment, you know. If we were in the title race still, it looks like a bit of a far fetch. That moment right there would have matched the same goal that we scored against United a few years back. You know, that was the power of that goal, and it just. I jumped off my chair and I was elevated and I was over the moon, and it was Salah as well. Like you said, he's the king. He is the king. This is his stadium. No, this is his team, you know, and he's been dormant all season. But today he got played in, I'm not sure his preferred position, but in a position where he can make the impact that only very few players in the world can do. And when that moment came, I was going to say no doubt about it, but he didn't respond just a few minutes earlier. But when the second moment came, he was, exceptional. And that was it. That was like the moment where it was like, okay, we are back. This is it now. This is serious.
Conroy, did you have any doubts this time round when he went through?
No, I still did, yeah. But that was just because, because in the replay, it was such a good save. In my head, I'm just thinking the first time, I'm like, do you know what? Sometimes you have those days. But to be fair, I thought it was an excellent finish. Such a clever finish. In first viewing, you're not sure, but you can see he just lifts it slightly to the side. Very reminiscent, guys, of his first season against Arsenal at Anfield when he heads it past Bellerin on the halfway line, and he whips it actually outside and in. I thought it was a very similar finish. I think it's against Peter Cech, that goal. What a finish. And genuinely, I think people are not talking about this turn enough. Yes, Cancelo is very poor defending. Listen, I think there's been enough said today on the treatment that Trent gets, if there's maybe a bit over Cancelo for his defensive side, because it's never been a massive strong point. Unbelievable going forward. But anyway, that turn, to kind of catch it the way he does, and then I think it rebounds off his knee or his thigh to get that down and then to spin and go the other way is outstanding. I don't think enough people are talking about that. And we mentioned in the past, Grizz, and Cav alluded to the goal against United. He is a player for big moments. Has his clutch moments, and yet again he's turned up. And it was honestly, what a feeling. Genuinely, I actually wish it was Peter Drury on comms, because as the chat said, we're left with Martin Tyler, and I think that says it all. We'll just leave that at that for that.
Holmes, how was your feeling when that went in?
Man, I went mental, man. That I haven't celebrated a Liverpool goal like that for.
And Alisson, another assist. I believe that's
two.
five.
That's two in 2022, Grizz. 2 in 2022.
Apparently, that's 5 goals and assists in his
4 seasons.
I mean, this is insane. Someone's going to pull out a mad stat that it's more than, I don't know.
It's more than Grealish, I think.
It's more than Grealish,
yeah.
More than Hazard, more than all these
People
guys.
in the chat, you guys know I'm on the Big Six tomorrow. Give me ammunition galore, you fuckers. Send it to me. I will go in there fully armed tomorrow. So get your wild, wacky, hot stats at me. Sorry, Ohms. Mohamed Salah, clean through.
Man, I went crazy. I went absolutely crazy. Like, for me, that second time we went through, I was up. I knew he was scoring. Like, there's no way Salah. Right, Salah, like Conroy said, Salah does miss chances, but he doesn't miss 2 gilt-edged chances in a row. So I was up, and man, it was just nuts. The feeling that I thought straight after I was like, okay, it's a goal. Damn, we might be back. We might be back up, because it just had everything. Anfield, Cop End, Salah. Like, we've seen that goal before. We've seen it against Man United, Alisson to Salah. He did the same thing against Norwich. We've just seen it, and if you ever needed a talisman, if you ever needed someone to step up, it was Mo Salah, and he led from the front all game. He proved why he's one of our leaders, one of the guys this team is dependent on. There's a reason he's our highest ever paid player in history. It's because he produces moments like that. And yeah, it just I don't know if any of you guys remember a game. It was in the season 2009-10 season where we had a pretty bad start as well, and we played Man United at Anfield, and Torres scored a very crucial goal where he just sort of bodies Rio Ferdinand and drills it past Van der Sar. For me, it had that sort of feeling where, right, we need someone to step up. Torres stepped up then. now Salah's stepping up now. So man, I was just like, yeah, we're back. And then from then on, Anfield went crazy, and City, they didn't really produce.
I don't think they did, Jamie, because what happens then is obviously we've made the substitutions by then. He takes off a tiring Fabinho, who was on a yellow card anyway. But I thought it was much more like the Fabinho that we recognized. And so, it's okay. Fabinho is allowed to have a little rest. Henderson comes in. He brings on Nunes, Carvalho, I believe. Who else? Nunes, Carvalho. There's a triple substitution.
Henderson.
Yeah, Henderson, Carvalho, and Nunes. I think all three of them have an impact. And you know how we've been saying Klopp substitutions have made us worse every time this season. He got these ones right this time.
And I thought he was going to get it wrong when I saw Salah's number came up on the board.
My heart went
off. I'm thinking, he's on a mad one here. But luckily the right substitutions were made. But I feel like Henderson coming in solidified a triangle between Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, and himself, where it was like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings throwing down the staff, "You shall not pass." And I mean, we have to go and talk about Joe Gomez because he was absolutely immense today.
We will.
Okay. Because Darwin he's so unpredictable. Fabio kind of slides in and was facilitating some of the same role as Harvey Elliott. And there was a couple of times with Fabio where I thought, he looks just off the pace, just slightly. And in the last half a second, he would merge into the play somehow and get himself involved. But if only he could have been 100% with the continuity of the game, I think he would have had slightly a little bit more impact. But I thought that overall Fabio's performance was good, getting into the pockets, getting higher up the field. And Darwin just looks like a guy who, when he has the football at his foot, it looks like he doesn't know what he's going to do before he does it. I mean, he's coming in on the left side in a play where he then goes storming into the center and sends in a shot that's probably 2 meters wide, but it was a great rep to see him get into the channel and run with it. And then there was another play at which he came on where he's on the byline and Khanage going with him, and then someone's coming over to tie off the space so he can't run into the box, obviously. And he just splits the defenders almost in like a nimble, but yet like, awkward, baby deer style with those long legs that he has. And
baby deer.
His motion is going, and Khanage has to stick out a leg there. And there were a couple other opportunities that Darwin had where I think it was the first one, I'm trying to remember, there's someone that he should have squared the ball to, and I felt like he went for a shot. And then the second opportunity, he had Fabio coming for the straight back cutback, and then he sees, I believe, who was making the run on the right?
Trent.
Yes, Trent. And he of course is like, I'm gonna go pick the harder of the two options.
Harder of the pass, yeah.
But overall, with Darwin Núñez, he is just an absolute repetition offensive monster. The guy looks dangerous every single time he plays. And we're talking about 3, 4, 5 chances that Darwin had in less than, it ended up being almost 28 minutes, but it should have been about 18 minutes. I'm very, very fond of Darwin. I'm very, very fond of Darwin. And I'll leave someone with the Henderson chat, and that'll be my point for right now.
I'm very fond of the way you're very fond of Darwin. I'm very fond of the way you call Darwin. And I love it. I want to hear Darwin from you for the rest of the season. I'm going to enjoy it because that means he will have had an impact. Because that's what he does, folks. When he gets on the pitch, he has an impact. Now, Conroy, I know some of his decision-making was a bit wacky, right? The one with Mohamed Salah, whoever has hair, bless you guys, right? Fortunate enough to have hair, must have been pulling it out, right? Or wanting to pull it out, right? We were... Okay, all right, lads, all right, show offs. Fuck's sake. No one likes to show off, all right? But
let's all get our hats off.
But it's mad. It's mad the amount of chaos he's involved in, this guy. Like Jamie says, on a very short space of time. And it's because and Jamie makes a very good point. It's about his intense levels of repetition. He's not overruled. He's not tired. He doesn't get disheartened. They were shit, just like the Charity Shield. It worked a treat because they were shit scared of him as soon as he came on. In fact, it was the perfect distraction for them in terms of where we thought, just like the Charity Shield, that they're going to bombard us now and camp us in. They didn't do it because of this guy. He's a one-man wrecking machine.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great substitution by Klopp, because the one thing about Núñez, and I think that's why we have selected him, is because he has that aerial presence. He can be that number 9, but he's also got the pace to press, but also give us that out ball, which was, especially in the left wing when he came on, I thought a few times he caused them problems, which was great. I think the way I'd talk about Núñez is he is enigma, he is frustration. He will be successful, I'm sure, but where he is right now, his decision making, it's going to be like that a lot of games. I'm sure he'll do things that you'll be like, how have you made it to this level? And then he'll do other things and you'll be like, you're outstanding. But you can see why we've bought him. You can see what he could be. And I know at times that's frustrating for me, especially the Salah one, because that's like a straightforward pass for a Sunday League player to make, to be honest. And, you know, if he doesn't see him, that's fine. But then that's another problem. Why is your head not up? And it's all fine now, guys. But if we draw that game because of that, I think would be a different tone right now. So to me, this is why we've got Núñez. He is a project. He will get there. But until then, there's going to be lots of moments of frustration, because I've seen him in 5 games and I've already shouted at the TV about 20 times because of certain moments. Don't get me wrong. He's still shown me a lot. There's just, see the Trent ball, for example, Cav. I actually think that's the right ball, because I think if Carvalho takes it, it's still he's got to whip it around the defender. I think that's unlucky. It's the Salah one that you can see Salah's reaction. It's like, this is a big boy team now, that you have to step up when these moments are on. Sorry, my cough there. When these moments are on, it's important, you know, and I feel like he will get there. But I don't know if you've ever met footballers like that in the past, where you watch them and you just think, you're a bit of an enigma. Like, you don't know what you're doing. And I think the comment said chaos causes chaos. I would agree with that. But you know what? City's one of the best teams in the world. And he came on and done that. So I think it's good for us going forward. Even though we'll probably lose a few hairs now and again, it is what it is. I still think he's... I'm still looking forward to see what we can do with him and what he can do under Klopp.
Absolutely. Stabby Live says 18 minutes, 3 major chances, 1 clear-cut missed chance, and 1 easy pass not taken. Chaos, but we love him. Darwin, I'm going to call him Darwin. Darwin Duck, let's get dangerous. If you know, you know. That's obviously a reference to something. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a bit old for that. I don't know. Does anybody get that reference?
Darwin
No?
Duck.
Darwin Duck?
Do you mean Donald Duck?
Donald Duck?
Maybe.
Let us know in the chat.
Let us know in the chat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just a couple of super chats that I've missed out on. We're going to get back to it. Sorry. The best left back was left back by Mo, apparently. I mean, that's not talked about, is it, Holmes? Like, sort of this Cancelo. I mean, Cancelo, Trent would have been trending on Twitter.
Yeah, but it's fine. Liverpool bad always trends, so it's just you got to take it on the chin, right? Cancelo, he's a baller, right? And look, like, I don't know why players get so overly criticized. Your favorite right back also had plenty of mistakes. Dani Alves, man, if the spotlight wasn't him if he played in the Premier League, damn, he would not get the love he gets. Marcelo, Roberto Carlos, absolute legends of the game. But do you think they were perfect defensively? No, they weren't. So yeah, let these guys do what they do. And hey, Cancelo just can't get a handle of Salah. Last season, it was the same thing, and this season it's the same thing. Sometimes players just have a thing over certain players, and Salah has something over Cancelo.
But it's fair to say Mohamed Salah has a few things over a few players, so it's fine. It's fine. Apparently, it's cartoon superhero. His tag phrase. Don't ever say the Redfellas. You don't learn something new on here. What do we learn? What do we learn new, Cav? What do we learn after that? I love our game management after that. What have we been screaming about game management and Liverpool this season? We have been crying our eyes out in terms of where's our game management. I loved our snidey little fouls. I loved our knowing when to keep the ball, when not to keep the ball. I just thought we played that last 15 minutes perfectly. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't think there was a clear-cut chance, so to speak. There was a shot or something like where it's an easy save for Alisson, I believe. I don't think there's many chances. Or was you still nervous because of the season we're having, because of the way we're managing? But did you have faith this time? Something felt different.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, games gone by this season, I felt nervous when we've, on the rare occasions, been up in the game and trying to hold on to leads. But today felt different. And it was because of, what we'd just seen for the 60, 70, 80 minutes prior, very organized, people up for the fight, and people playing really well. We knew we'd come under pressure, but the subs helped freshen it up a little bit. But they never really created much after the goal. I recall Foden putting a really good whip cross in, which Rodri was just a few yards off. Surprisingly, Haaland wasn't in the box to kind of tuck it away, but it was an excellent cross. There was the ball in the box that was played into Haaland, but Gomez leaned on him, which is also a really great little tactic for a centre-back to do when you know you can't beat your man in the air. He did that really well. And there was a couple of shots that sort of trickled across the ground. But yeah, we really got behind the ball and defended really well, limited the space for them, snapped into challenges as we'd been doing earlier in the game. And they were struggling. And I was nervous, but purely just because it's football and anything can happen. But Liverpool instilled that belief in me that we were going to see it out. And I think certain players, and I highlight Conroy's, man, Robertson kind of comes alive in these last 10 minutes.
I was desperate for him to be fit for this game, and especially after a well-earned rest and be fit for this game.
Yeah,
because Conroy Robertson, same thing. We can call him Conroy. We can call him Robertson. Yeah, same thing. Robertson showed me in that 20 minutes cameo against Rangers, he was back. You can instantly tell when he's got that buzz throughout his body, and he was buzzing.
Yeah,
Cav.
I don't know if let Cav.
Sorry.
I've spoken about Robertson enough, Cav. I've spoken far too many times. You go, mate.
I'll go. You can hear a new voice on Robertson then.
Definitely.
Exactly that, Grizz. But I highlight this. He was exceptional throughout the game. But in the last 10 minutes, what you need is leaders. And he is one of our leaders. And he's shown that energy. He was still the man that was brave enough to get up the pitch and challenge further up the pitch and get the defense up. And he really led by example in doing that. Because what can tend to happen is you kind of, as we've seen teams, you fall back when you're trying to defend a lead, and then you actually bring the opposition onto you, and then anything can happen. But he was brave enough to push and press even in them final moments. And the other man I'm going to highlight, and this goes back to the question why I kind of felt confident we'd see the game out, was because I've seen Virgil back to wanting to win every single challenge. There was a moment, I'm not sure when it was in the game, where there was a ball up in the air and he literally ran past 4 or 5 men just to make sure he was the guy that headed it. So alongside Gomez's performance, which we highlighted, Robertson's, everybody else's, but Virgil's, we've called him, he's a brilliant defender, but sometimes we say he's a bit relaxed. He doesn't put his head onto stuff. He kind of waits for it to drop, or he doesn't throw himself into challenges. I mean, he was doing all of them things today, which meant to me that I believe this team, no matter how much pressure they were going to be put under for the last 10 minutes, they were ready to defend it. They weren't just going to take what they'd got for granted. And Virgil epitomized that when he headed the ball over the bar that looked like it was going goalward. So the body language and the application of the players today gave me confidence that we could see out this game. And that's the biggest takeaway for me from today. Was there has been question marks about the tactics, about the players, about what this Liverpool team are. Are we at the end of our cycle? Well, today was the confirmation that actually, no, this team, when they want to, can deliver. And that's what we learned from them. So we should have every faith that these guys can turn our season around.
I spent all week saying, and not only me, everyone's saying, that if we have any chance, the big dogs have to come to life. Virgil, Fabinho, Mohamed Salah. I thought them three were exceptional today. They really showed, and I think, like Conroy said, they played like leaders. Or was it Cav? But they took up responsibility on the pitch and went beyond And this is what we needed. There was no way we were going to beat Man City in the form that we're in if these guys didn't turn up to the party. What did you think of Van Dijk's performance as well today?
Yeah, proper leader. Like, I know there's a lot of questions about his sort of defending when he's in the box and whatever, because he doesn't really defend in the box much. But those last 10, 15 minutes, we were so compact. We were perfect. What isn't getting talked about enough is that sort of ball across that Haaland's in at the back post for a tap in, and the way he gets back in to head it over the bar, absolutely immense. And look, you don't really see Van Dijk throw his body on the line, which he was doing, like be an absolute dog right up Haaland's backside, like constantly, like giving him absolutely no time. You don't see him do that, but bloody hell, when he does that, the intensity, everything, it sort of vibrates and flows throughout the rest of the team. When you see your Salahs, your Van Dijks, your Thiagos, your Fabinhos putting performances like that, it makes the rest of the team so much better. Like, the amount of like intensity and just grit we had today was so like pleasing and great to see. When we scored and they were sort of pushing the last 10 minutes, like, I felt comfortable because we were still at it. We were still in their face. We weren't giving them time on the ball. We weren't letting them come on to us. I mean, we did let them come on to us, but it wasn't like, okay, have the ball and just keep firing in crosses. We were still there.
Do you know what it was? It was I thought we let them have the ball when we wanted to let them have the ball, if you know what I mean, in areas where we thought we're okay. And normally I've been very nervous when they get the ball, and any team would be, because the amount of quality they've got, if you're going to give them the ball, you're asking for trouble. I thought, and I can't remember, one of you made that point, I thought it was a tactical ploy. I thought we actually lured them in. And we know Man City love to play that high line. And in fact, the chances that we did create was because of their high line and us getting through them quite a few times. So I think that was very, very tactical and meant to be that way. But Jamie, so go on, Oms.
For me, like, yeah, no, I completely agree. And we sort of, it was that sort of vintage Jurgen Klopp, or like his early days where, yeah, we couldn't go toe to toe with them, but we hunted in packs, and the amount of chances through the likes of Núñez, Carvalho, that we were still able to create, really. We could have gone 2-0 up at any stage in that last 10 to 15 minutes as soon as we scored. So it was just that desire and the sort of, we almost made this game a big event. It wasn't just another game. It was like, we're going to put absolutely everything into it and make it our day. And that's how it felt. It felt like a proper, like, do you remember we beat City? I think we beat them 1-0 in 16-17 season. Wijnaldum scored a header. And then
16-17, you must have been about 3 then. How do you remember what happened in 16-17?
I don't really know what to make of that, Grizz.
16-17, you know.
That was Lallana's cross, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lallana left. It was actually on New Year's Eve, mate. I remember it very clearly. Mate, we went top of the league as well. We went top of the league as well. I remember it absolutely clearly. It was the same. We were hunting in packs. We were at them. We gave them no time on the ball. We were the team that looked like we wanted to win. They were a bit slack. Like, they gave us time on the ball. They gave us time to do what we did. So yeah, it was just that sort of aggression that we needed to make it a big event for us to get 3 points and get the season going. We needed to make that happen, and yeah, we did.
Aggression, Jamie. Aggression, and I love my segues, even though I say myself, you know, I love the way I segue into stuff. Connery, I'm serious. I love the way I segue into something. You know,
I know. You listen, Grizz genuinely does have hosting skills on next level.
No, I'm joking.
He knows what he's like. I'll put this in 1 hour 15. This is where this is going.
No, but
he doesn't need a hype man, Conroy, by the sounds of it. So.
Omar mentioned aggression, right? And one of the key criticisms of Joe Gomez's performances in recent times has been his lack of aggression. So we talk about Joe Gomez having the physical speed attributes, very good on the ball, but we often say to play centre back alongside Virgil, who often is said to not be the most aggressive as well, even though he can't be today, and he was an absolute fucking monster today. But normally we associate the partnership to be one reader of the game, the distributor, and an aggressive man, front foot, old school Jamie Carragher, Martin Skirtle type front foot defender. Joe Gomez has been that. Was it 1920, guys, where he was magnificent and elite? Since then, he's had horrible injury after horrible injury, setback after setback. But today, he put all of his attributes and all of his skills and everything that we want from a centre-back, he put that on show today. Joe Gomez.
Man, this is such a great feeling to talk about Joe with glowing terms, because he was stellar, not only in his gameplay, but in his mentality and intensity. Because when you go up against a striker like Haaland, right, the main objective that you have is don't let him turn with the ball. And the principle is the man can go or the ball can go, but both cannot go together. And Joe, absolutely, not one scenario I can remember did he let Haaland get past him with the ball. If I'm wrong, I'm just bigging up Joe right now, because we ended up getting a clean sheet, which feels like the first one in a long, long time, in large part because of his individual battles with Haaland today, where so many times with Haaland, you see him cutting from the middle of the park with a center back on his back, tailing him, desperately trying to get close. And what does Haaland do? A little shake and bake, and that 6'5" frame, probably 200 pounds of muscle, absolute specimen of an athlete, just gets around, and City are rolling the other way. That didn't happen once today with Haaland because of the lockdown defense that Joe Gomez put on Erling Haaland. And that set the tone for the rest of the game, because if you isolate that focal point of City, it makes them now have to go out to the outside to try and break your lines, which, as we saw today with their ball-playing center backs and and outside backs not being there, it gave Joe the ability to lock down Haaland and stagnate their offense. And I think there's nothing more due to Joe than a performance like this, because of how his career has gone, where we all know there is a shining star of a player there, and the cards have just not happened for him. I hope for Joe, and not only Joe, but Liverpool, that this performance signals how the energy is about to shift.
Guys, have a moment or two on Joe Gomez, please, if you may. Conroy can start.
Yeah, no, I thought it was I think Jamie summed up really, really well. Wise words and great analyst as always, Jamie. I always love Jamie's tweet after the show. It actually makes me feel good about humanity. It's such a good positive outlook. But on Joe Gomez, I felt like he played with a point to prove today, because the Napoli performance was a disaster. It genuinely can take you from being a top 6 team centre back to, low level Premier League. It was that bad a performance, and I feel like today he had a point to prove. He played well at right back, but I wouldn't say the jury's out on him at centre back, but it was Lovren-esque against Napoli. It was like Lovren against Spurs. It really could have been a damaging moment in his career. And today he looked like, do you know what? No, this is the level I can play at. And he stepped up. And I think, as the comments have said, and we have said, the athletic build and ability he's got, it does help. Like we talk about how good it is to have that pace with Khanage as well. I think today, especially how we're such a good unit, I think Gomez was outstanding, and I think he played with a point to prove. I was so happy for him. It could have been easy for Van Dijk to get man of the match. You mentioned Milner, who was outstanding, but the fact Gomez got man of the match, I thought was absolutely brilliant, and a great achievement. But I won't go into the details too much because Jamie summed up really well. But I think he went off a point to prove, and he's absolutely smashed it. Because now what's going to happen is when Matic comes back, there's going to be a question now who starts at centre back, especially with Trent, getting on for the last 5 minutes. So that's all I can say is that is due to Joe Gomez. So well done, mate. You're superb.
Anything to add, Kev or Omar and Joe Gomez?
Just like the team, need to. If I was speaking to Joe Gomez right now, I'd say, right, that's the marker. Now let's push on. Let's get consistency in. Right, absolutely sublime performance by the team, by you. But now this is where the season has to start. We have to push on. We can't go back again.
Yeah, and I would just add that I think that him and Virgil have quite a special relationship. We've seen it in the title-winning season. We obviously have great centre-back options in Matip and Khanage as well, but I feel like with Virgil, I think he trusts Gomez that when Virgil and him play, that Virgil can actually be the one that does step out and moves closer into midfield and tries to win headers and that first ball. And he trusts Gomez that will cover in behind. And I think that's because of the pace of him. You know, for the big injuries that he's had, he's never lost that yard of pace. So I think their relationship is really quite something special. And yeah, he deserves it. You know, there's a lot of footballers in the world that have a lot of arrogance and terrible human beings in different ways and stuff. But Joe's a real humble, down-to-earth lad. And when you see anything sort of off the pitch with him, you really feel for him the way his career's gone with the injuries and stuff. So he's the sort of guy that deserves a bit of a break and a chance. And that's exactly what he's got now. He's got a chance not only for Liverpool to be in that starting 11, but he has a chance maybe for England as well. So
this is what I didn't want. I was going to ask, I don't want this conversation, man, because he's going to get into the England chat. I don't know. We're being selfish, right? We're being selfish, right? We surely, yeah. Are you saying Holmes let him go to the World Cup if he gets selected?
I might be in a minority here, but I've always wanted our players to do well, like with their international teams. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say, but like I want to see, like, if we have an England team, I want to see Liverpool representation. Like, I know there's the risk of injury, right? But like, I still like think about these guys as people. Like, this is their dream, right? They want to play in World Cups. They want to do all this stuff. Like, go let them earn their sort of reward.
Fair play. Trez Fresh says, appreciate the super chat. He goes, Joe needs to start at right back. The team looks better. I think the team looked good today. I mean, look, whether he's right back, whether he's centre back, we saw Trent make a earlier than anticipated return to the team, which is good news. Luis Diaz, we know, is out. A few people asking about Diogo Jota. I'm gonna let the big journalists report tomorrow. It's not good news, people. I just want to put it out there. It's not good news on Diogo Jota. But
who was brilliant, by the way. Sorry to cut you, Grizz, but just a moment on him. There were moments in that game where Khanage didn't know what to do with him. You know, he was dropping deep, getting the ball, and then just bursting into space. You know, I remember one moment he actually picked the ball up from deep. He turned and he kind of lulled on it for a second, and then he realized he had loads of space to run into, and he just drove through the heart of that of Man City's midfield. I thought he was brilliant today, and it's so sad to hear that he might have a serious injury because, hey, is the left-sided option without Diaz now?
Yeah,
we've got a bit of a problem there. So
yeah, that's the main dampener. I'm not even couldn't give a shit about the red card at the end, lads. About Jurgen Klopp. Got any comments on that? He's a passionate man. It was a ridiculous situation on the back of a few ridiculous. This is what I mean, though, when I was talking about the referees' mistakes and errors. They were constant, I thought, and Jurgen Klopp obviously thought as well. That culminated in him not giving Bernardo Silva actually doing. I wish Keith was on today because there's a move for that, right? That wrestling move. A DDT.
DDT, yeah.
What does that stand for? People in the chat.
Not got a clue. Just know it.
Someone will in the chat will know what the DDT stands for. So please get us. Surely they will know. 100% someone will know because Bernardo Silva attempts DDT on Mohamed Salah, and Jurgen Klopp loses his mind and gets a red card. What happens now with that red card?
Yeah, well, I think as far as I'm aware, listen, there might be more. As far as I'm aware, if a manager gets a straight red, it's a one-match touchline ban. I will caveat that with the fact that it looked like quite obvious. I know everyone's, my manager tweets up with it, sticking the fingers up, but if that gets looked into, it looks like you'll get more than that, because if that can be proven, it looks quite likely there may be further punishment. And I think, to be fair to Klopp, I listened to his post-match interview and he did apologise. He said it was deserved. I think he obviously went right up to the linesman as they're running. Now, listen, linesperson, sorry. And as I understand, like, you know, emotions get the better, but it probably, I don't, you know, it got to that level and he admitted he made a mistake, and I think it's fair enough. So it's just 1 match ban right now, touchline ban, but we'll see if there's any further punishment.
I think he does probably. He may, especially with that. You're right. You pointed out that thing he done at the end there. DDT is a wrestling move where you headlock the opponent and drive to the floor, falling backwards. That was exactly what you done. What he done. But people, magnificent victory. And as you guys know, and we all agree, it's so important that we continue now. Massive victory. It could have really hurt us mentally if we had lost in a bad way, like a lot of people was predicting and suggesting we will. But instead, we done the total opposite. I thought in the end it was a very, very dominant display, guys. We get the nerves. We all were nervous. We know what Man City can do on the ball. We know what the kind of players they have. But now when I look back at the game, while I was talking to you and discussing it with you, and now I'm going to watch it again because I'm like that. You know, I've got to analyze it properly now. I'm pretty convinced I'm going to watch it again and say, wow, that was dominant. I couldn't give a shit, and we've been there before. We don't care about possession stats and whatever. But in terms of domination, strategically, tactically, mentally, we got them. We got them exactly we want them. And Jurgen Klopp's now unbeaten in 5 against Pep Guardiola. So and that's 3 victories out of those 5. Correct? Yeah. The semi-final, the Charity Shield, and now the league game. And the 2 league games were draws, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. People, thank you very much for joining me at the panel. People, there's over 60 of you in here. I hope you guys have hit the like button. I hope we're over 400 likes, which is probably one of our best ratios. So big up yourselves. This has been your Redfellas podcast on Sunday night after a magnificent effort, magnificent win for Liverpool Football Club. Much needed for the morale of the fans, of the coach, of the players, everyone involved. But we must continue this. We must go and get another 3 points against West Ham, which will be a total different type of game. We have a few injuries now. But what we've shown today is that Liverpool ain't dead. Liverpool ain't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Thank you very much, people. Over and